Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review The Boys, Season 3, Episode 6. So, I gotta say, besides, of us having some eye candy within this film, or in this episode, a lot to just digest, if you know what I mean, we are to also have a really great episode on top of that, where it seems everyone placed in this episode is really nobody is to have a weaker story, which is great because normally you would go on and find the weakest part of the story and just be like, yeah, that one sucked, let's forget about that. But it feels like everybody is to have something really interesting to turn around and eventually bring this kind of stuff into next week's episode, whatever that ends up being. So really just overall a really great episode. But then also you get the visuals within this episode also, and everybody knows what I mean by that. There's a reason why this episode is to, of course, be called Hero Gasm, because we come to find out that there is a whole entire house where there are a group of soups who are going ham on one another, so to speak, being very vague. Because, of course, heaven forbid you end up saying any kind of words upon YouTube, and they're like, red flag right away! How dare you go on and say these things, these words, and so on and so forth. So, of which, I'm going to have to vaguely go through this episode and talk about things because I'm not going to go in very detailed about the background of the house of which TNT are to be inside of. But then I can also make some pop jokes in whatever I can, because why not? I can be a dick at some point, right? D-I-C-K, if you know what I'm saying. Gotcha? So, within this episode, we have Jensen Ackles going on and saying himself that he, of course, was to feel very at unease by filming this episode, and I would completely understand. When really looking at it, there's a number of characters that don't really have any kind of clothes or anything on, and so you're just seeing things flopping in the wind, so to speak. And so especially with all these kind of these sounds going on in the background while Soldier Boy is trying to do his thing, so to speak, by just acting, I'm sure, yeah, it would be very just distracting, and you were just kind of your eyes would probably just linger in a number of other places besides where you should be lingering at because you can't help it because it's going on. So other than that, there is some really good stories going on with Frenchie and Little Nina. Little Nina is to go on and is to kidnap either present lovers of Frenchie or past lovers of Frenchie, and have them choose the form of their destructor. No, choose which one is to live and choose which one is to die. And it seems that we find out that Frenchie is to uh, have pleasure with his pain, or have pain with his pleasure, if you know what I mean. So, very dominant, I guess, at some point. So, but not only that, we then turn around and we are to still remember that Maeve was to have been taken by Homelander to be put into this rehab or asylum or whatever. And so we're reflecting on that at some points, to have either Newman or have Starlight, who are going on and saying well, Maeve is probably dead at this point. We just have to make that conclusion, because what else can we think that is really happening to Maeve at this point? But so, for this episode, we have Homelander who is realizing that Soldier Boy is back in town, so to speak, and we have Homelander who's going to Black Noir because Black Noir had worked with him in the past, meaning that Black Noir may very well go on and have his life be at risk. And so we had this moment where Homelander is talking to Noir, and Noir goes on and is like, dude, I'm freaking out here. Like, I am going to skedaddle. So we have Homelander that is to make it to this house, realizing where Soldier Boy is to now be, and we have this really great fight out happening between not only Soldier Boy and Homelander, but then Butcher, Soldier Boy, and Homelander, and that was so cool. But I really don't want to go on and give away much more of this episode. But for those of you who are to watch it, a lot of people could be like, yeah, this is the greatest Boys episode I've ever seen. And some people could just go and be like, yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, yeah. Or, like, every once in a while, there'd probably be a person like, I don't like this show for whatever reason. And this is why. Because there's those people also. Because there's a variety of different people that have a variety of different feelings about the Boys. At the end of the day, it's okay. Because I don't know how anybody would probably go on and react to this episode. Because what would it be like at all that you can cover within this episode? It would have to be something that's heavily edited for whatever goofy reason. So for anybody who's to go on and react, good luck. Good luck for not getting claimed or not having sounds in the background of a certain episode. That is to go on and not get like claimed or something gonna happen with your video, and I wouldn't have taken the risk. I would have to go on and just kind of if I were to have reacted to this episode, I would just go on and just do little things here and there. And that would be very little for this recap. Just like, hey guys, just go and watch the show on Amazon, because there's no way I could watch this and not have to heavily edit it or heavily do something. But anyways, with that said, let's go into that double 5 time territory. Let's talk about this episode in spoilers, because I think it's about that time to just go into spoiler time. Spoiler time, it's about that time again to spoil this episode. Yeah, so it's easily like another great episode. There is some kind of like, wow, they went there kind of things in the episode. Like especially when Soldier Boy goes on and talks about Bill Cosby and how like he was to say that was like America's dad and this and that, and like, and Huey's telling Soldier Boy it's like, well, yeah, about Bill Cosby, and like Soldier Boy is like, yeah, that guy used to make a mean drink, and it's like, okay. Wow. So yeah, so let's go into let's go in the beginning of this. So, or as much as beginning as I would normally just kind of go into things. So for this episode, because there's a number of things going on. So come to find out, Homelander is to figure out that Soldier Boy is to be walking away from Crimson Countess's home, and they are to have this videotape, and the Deep is going on and working this video, and the guys are complaining, like Ashley and Homelander are complaining, like, well, hey, where are the tech people? And the Deep is like, yeah, I fired a lot of them. It's like, okay, that was a stupid move. So they notice that Soldier Boy is there, and so now we have Homelander that's just like, oh my god, like Soldier Boy's really alive. So we have Homelander speaking to Black Noir and asking him, it's like, well, hey, like, you know Soldier Boy better than anybody. Like, what do you think his plan is, Black Noir? Tell me. Like, tell me anything that you know, Black Noir. Because we also turn around and have the Deep that is getting philosophical, and so he decides to bring a bunch of celebrities on the show, and all just sing this song for whatever goofy reason. And then we have Noir at the end of it, like having his lyrics on some like white cardboard piece of paper, and that's how the video just ends. So, like, gearing it up to showcase what all happens in the beginning of this episode. So, after Black Noir is done talking to Homelander, he gets in this elevator and he pulls out this tracker and he gives it to some woman, and he walks out of this elevator while his arm is heavily bleeding. I'm like, oh my god. So, we have A-Train that is to be doing this A-Train to Africa movie, I guess. And so A-Train is to go on and talk to Ashley and mention how Blue Hawk had gone on and paralyzed A-Train's brother. And Ashley is to go on and tell A-Train, it's like, you know what? Like, I had to go on and put up like several strategy meetings for whenever you would go off and you would accidentally kill somebody. Now that this has technically happened to you, like, I I have to go on and like figure something out about Blue Hawk. Like, no. So we have A-Train just tracking Blue Hawk down, and he's going to personally see to it that Blue Hawk gets what's coming to him. So I thought that was really cool. So, and not only that, there's a kind of question about like, wait a minute, like, is A-Train okay at the end of this? Because eventually we have A-Train that makes it to this Hero-gasm place. With let's go with just saying it's TNT's home. A-Train makes it into this place and is looking for Blue Hawk, who is wanting to toss somebody's salad, so to speak. So A-Train finds Blue Hawk and is to grab Blue Hawk, and then is dragging him through this street to the point of Blue Hawk being killed here. And we have A-Train whose heart is bumping so quickly, and then it seems to stop, making us assume that A-Train is dead. But I am not going to say that until we see this guy dead in a coffin in the ground somewhere, or ashes be ashes, dust to dust kind of thing. Because I'm not going to write this character off so quickly. But we had Huey that confronts A-Train because Huey is also at the TNT house, going on, making his way through this house to eventually serve TNT up to Soldier Boy on a silver platter, because Soldier Boy is to tell both Huey and both the Butcher that he's like, well, hey, I want to clear off all my team off the board, and then I'll go and add one more name to that list, which is Homelander, to help you guys out because that's what you want. Because Soldier Boy like doesn't really know much about Homelander, so he's just like, okay, like, you guys want him dead, I'll make him dead. So we have Huey that bumps into A-Train, and since now Huey has powers, because both Butcher and Huey go on to take more temporary V to just continue injecting themselves. which I'm waiting for the horrific side effects of all those to eventually have these people probably die from continuous use. So, and plus for how they're just consistently taking it anyways, why not just take the other, like, instead temporary, why not just take full on, like, V? Because you might as well, right? For how consistent they've been using it. So, and I'm sure they're going to run out fairly soon also, probably. So, and like, if Maeve is their supplier, what happens when Maeve isn't supplying them anymore with this V? Anyways, but so Huey is to meet up with A Train in this house. And so we have Huey who wants A Train to legitimately apologize for Robin because he never really did. So A Train's like, "Really? You wanna do this now?" And Huey's like, "Yeah, of course I want to do it now." So A Train is to sincerely tell Huey that he's sorry and he means it. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. And so, because A Train is to finally realize, like, the shoe being on the other foot, as well as normally anybody that A Train would kill would be something where A Train would just be cleaning them off his boot, and he didn't care. Instead, A Train is to realize, like, well, no, like, I've been in the same predicament you've been in, and so I am really and truly sorry. So we have Huey that punches Soldier, or Soldier. Uh, we have Huey that punches A Train in the face, and A Train's like, wait a minute, how did you do that? And so we go on, we have Starlight who breaks both of them up and is to tell A Train to get the heck out of here, and is to, of course, confront Huey about why he's really here. Because we have Starlight that goes on with Mother's Milk, as Mother's Milk is kind of setting up all these guns, and Starlight is reminding Mother's Milk that it's like, hey, you do realize that, like, Soldier Boy is bulletproof, right? And Mother's Milk is like, well, like, the guns aren't for Soldier Boy. Like, guns are for possibly anybody else's to get in Mother's Milk's way. So, Starlight and Mother's Milk go to the location that Starlight knows these characters will be, because we have Starlight who goes to this place because that's where the Deep was sent. So we now have Starlight who is to get intel from the Deep, while the Deep is deep in an octopus, so to speak. And so the Deep is telling Starlight what's going on, that Homelander is going to be here to probably neutralize Soldier Boy. And so now Starlight is having to tell Huey what's going on. So, but let's kind of put that on pause here. So, let's talk about the little Nina Frenchie thing. Let's cover all that. And let's get that all out of the way, so I can get back to the rest of the story, because I feel like that's something that I should have gotten to earlier, but I didn't. So we have, at some point, we have Kamiko that is at this hospital, and she ends up getting nabbed. At some point, we have Cherry that also gets nabbed. So both of them are taken to this abandoned place where eventually Frenchie is to arrive without clothes on and be bike locked into some metal thing. And so little Nina is telling the past loves of Frenchie's life all of the wounds of which that he had in his past. So come to find out, Kamiko was slurping on a rainbow uh, popsicle of sorts, and it seems that somehow Kamiko was to have kept the kind of little stick from that, and so she ends up picking the lock from her cuffs to then get out of this. And so she starts going on and murdering and killing these guys, stabbing into them repetitiously. And so we have Cherry that goes on and is to try to run after little Nina. And it seems that I'm assuming little Nina is to have gotten out of here. So we have Frenchie who goes back to the CIA headquarters with Kamiko and Cherry. And so Kamiko is to mention that she feels that she thought that the Compound V was to make her a monster, but realizing that now that she doesn't technically still have these superpowers, that it wasn't V after all, it was just her always being this monster. And Frenchie was like, no, I don't think that at all. Like, I don't think that she's a monster. So, really, that's all, like, resolved from that, luckily. Like, it's a good story. It's an interesting part of the episode. And so let's move on. To get back to the eventual big battle and all this stuff. So we have TNT. And so the Deep is to go to this place and talk to TNT, and like we have of course one of the Tommy, I believe it is, of TNT, who goes on and is to eventually talk to the Deep and say like, well, hey, yeah, like that thing that happened with Starlight and all the crap that you had to go through. And the Deep is like, yeah, I really appreciate you saying all that like towards me. And then eventually the Deep is to realize that there's like hero-gasm going on. And so the Deep goes on and finds an octopus to eventually give him some pleasure. And so we have, and I'm backpedaling a little bit, but it is what it is. So we had Soldier Boy, who is supposedly to get some sleep, but Soldier Boy is to say like, no, I slept enough. As he's going on and getting all the like these chicken fingers and like this certain meal, and Soldier Boy is kind of bickering about how like there isn't this certain sauce, and we of course have Huey that's like, well, there's a whole reason why they got rid of that sauce, and Soldier Boy is like, whatever. So we have Soldier Boy that is to immediately think that he does not need help from Butcher or Huey, and Huey's like, well, I would beg to differ, because you need Bluetooth, you need internet, you need all these kinds of things that Soldier Boy is like, you just made up all this, right? And Huey's like, no, you need every single bit of these things to go on and figure out where these people are. And so we can help you with that. So Soldier Boy is like, oh, okay, sure. So Huey and Soldier Boy are to go on, and so we have at one point where they're kind of showcasing a Soldier Boy movie where Soldier Boy is fighting against this USSR officer, and we have Soldier Boy having this moment where he's to mention about all of his allies and everything like that, and eventually how like he's stalling for TNT to come in and blast this guy. So we have Soldier Boy that's going on and like just bickering and talking about this movie, and so he ends up watching this one commercial where he's seeing like how men are supposed to look today, and he's like, seriously, like that's how men are supposed to look now, and Huey's like, well, yeah, more or less, and so Soldier Boy is talking about like the war in Afghanistan and like talking about how those guys used to be our allies and so on and so forth. And like we just have just Soldier Boy who just doesn't like how this current time is. So, and he also goes on about Bill Cosby and how he made a really stiff drink and he was an American dad at some point. And Huey's like, yeah, like there's a lot to unpack there with the whole Bill Cosby thing, but yeah. So we go on, and so Huey and Soldier Boy and Butcher are to all make their way to Herogasm. So, or the TNT house. So so we go on into this place, and we have Starlight and we have Mother's Milk. They make their way into TNT's home, and they are to have this place be opened to them by a guy that Mother's Milk calls Love Sausage. And we have this guy who ends up getting dubbed Love Sausage, who's like, yeah, I like that name. That sounds like a really good name. So this guy lets both of them in, and we have Mother's Milk, who is to consistently go throughout this whole entire area to try to find possibly where Soldier Boy or TNT are. And he ends up getting all these certain kind of love juices with on his clothes. And when he opens his door, he ends up getting sprayed with some man juice. And so Mother's Milk is desperately telling uh, Starlight that he needs to go on to a bathroom right now. So Mother's Milk is to get an exchange of clothes, and so Mother's Milk is just kind of waiting out for Soldier Boy, as Starlight is to go and find Huey and ask him like, hey, what's the plan? Like, you can't just go on and serve these guys up. And Huey's like, well, we're kind of doing just that. So Soldier Boy is to make his way to this place, and he is to meet up with the TNT duo as they are to go on and bicker that one of the twins had gone on and put a camera in the turlet, and so Soldier Boy is to find them and is to ask them like, hey, who was the one who served me up to Russia? Like, I want to know. And so we have the TNT duo going and saying that it was Black Noir and it wasn't them. And Soldier Boy's like, I don't know if I believe you. And they're like, no, like, because Soldier Boy is to say, it's like, well, hey, if anything, like, Black Noir, like, wasn't to do anything without Bot's approval. And, like, TNT's like, no, like, it was definitely Black Noir. And so Soldier Boy is like, well, okay, but I'm going to kill you guys anyway. So Soldier Boy ends up wiping out everybody at this party, with the exclusion of Butcher and Mother's Milk and Huey, of course, because Huey was to go on and teleport Starlight out of that place. And so now both of them don't have clothes on. And so Huey is bickering with Starlight about how her having powers almost like always at some point, sometimes, made Huey felt less than, like his masculinity was taken away. Oh no, how forbid you go on and do something like that, Starlight. Who really cares? So what? So what, Huey? Like, you had, like, a good looking woman. Like, what? Who gives a if, like, you like was to feel like a less than kind of guy. You know what I'm saying? If you had a good looking woman, does it matter that she can do all these miraculous things? Yeah, it would probably benefit you whenever you need like your phone charged, probably, right? But come on, like really, just like who cares about like Starlight having powers and you don't? Oh well. Uh, like if anything, like in a bind, like Starlight can be pretty useful. But anyways, so kind of what I just said before. Anyways, so Mother's Milk is to, of course, want to go on and go after Soldier Boy because Soldier Boy is to continue to walk around this place. And we have Butcher, who is to be the deterrent for Mother's Milk getting to Soldier Boy. And so this is leading up to Soldier Boy getting to the TNT duo. So Mother's Milk goes on and is to take this baseball bat and just smack Butcher to where like Mother's Milk just breaks this bat trying to just take down Butcher and nothing is working. So that's when the explosion happens. That's when the Butcher and Mother's Milk are kind of like tossed off to the side. And so when Starlight makes it to Mother's Milk, she tells him it's like, hey, like your concern is not to get to Soldier Boy. Your concern is to try to help all of these superheroes that are now hurt. Because when Homelander walks in here, he just crushes over a number of superheroes because he doesn't care. Homelander makes his way to where Soldier Boy is, realizing that he's the only threat that he should really care about. So now Homelander makes it to where both Butcher and Soldier Boy are, and we also had a moment in this episode where Homelander was to kind of have his reflection talk back to him as if he's weirdly Norman Osborn from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. So Homelander is to go and talk to himself in this mirror and have his reflection tell him there was at some points that Homelander would always want some kind of like parent figure and to always get an acceptance or always get like some kind of thing, and how like the other version of Homelander, the more like angry version of Homelander, was to say it's like, well, hey, like really what we need is to kind of get rid of you and like have me just kind of be like here all the time. And so because like you're the weak part of us, and so to kind of really say that they need to figure out a way to get rid of this version of Homelander, this kind of weak character that is going on and grasping onto Starlight's hand and saying like, yeah, I missed you. So because Homelander is to weirdly need people at some points, like that's what Stormfront was. That was this, that was that. That was a number of characters that eventually Homelander himself admits that Homelander at some point had needed. So Homelander is to make it to this house and is to find both Butcher and Soldier Boy. And so Homelander is to say that it's like, well, hey, like Butcher, like supposedly you and me were supposed to fight to the death, but it seems like now you're cheating. And so Homelander goes and heat visions Butcher and knocks him down because he's not dead, of course, because he's temporary Compound V. So Soldier Boy and Homelander start going at it. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Like two people just duking it out. And then Butcher comes in there and starts duking it out. And then Huey is to come back and realize, like, oh man, they're all fighting. And so now Huey, who has no clothes on, is like kind of mixing it up, kind of distracting Homelander until somebody else can come into the fray and start duking it out with Homelander. So everything is going really well against Homelander. Like, we have both Homelander and Butcher using heat vision on one another. And then Soldier Boy grabs Homelander's cape and kind of smacks him down. We had the one moment where where Soldier Boy and Homelander were like talking about how like Homelander is Soldier Boy's better, and Soldier Boy's like, how are you better? You have a cape. Like, all you have is a cape. Yeah. So they're testing their strength out, and so really the most important thing that happens in this battle is that Homelander ends up getting pushed against this floor, and we have Butcher, Huey, and Soldier Boy all holding Homelander down. Butcher is telling Huey to get out of there, and Huey's like, "There's no way I'm leaving here." And so Soldier Boy is getting ready to do his blast to probably kill everybody in this room, and maybe Soldier Boy even himself. So Homelander flies out within the last second, and now they can't go on and kill Homelander. So now they're going to go on, and after all of this, after all that they've done, we had the moment where Starlight and Homelander were in that interview, where Newman was also there, and so the interview was abruptly, quickly like done, because of course this interviewer was going on and talking to them about this new threat that's out there, and Homelander's like we have that new threat dealt with, like you're like ambushing us and trying to like have these questions, and I don't appreciate that, as like Homelander just kind of storms off. So Starlight and Newman had this talk, and so we have Newman cut to the quick that Newman knows that Starlight knows. Just like, yeah, I know that you know that I'm the head popper, and you're just afraid that I'm gonna go on and kill you or kill somebody else, probably Huey. So really, like, Starlight is saying, like, you know what, I'm just gonna quit the Seven. Like, I'm sick of all you people. So I'm just gonna freaking quit now. I'm sick of this. And so Newman is to go on and tell Starlight, it's like, well, hey, like, just remember that, like, it's not so easy being green, or like, no, that's not what she said. Newman is to say, it's like, well, hey, like, just like kind of watch your back, because I can get to you at any time, as her nose is starting to bleed, and Starlight notices that. So it's like, like, so you're trying to get to me, I see. So Starlight goes on and is to count all the dead bodies all around this party, and eventually there's some people who are to be carted off in these ambulances. So, not knowing really if A-Train is dead or not, still, because him dragging the guy through the road to have his heart possibly stop. Maybe he's going to be in some ambulance somewhere because they're going to find him. But anyways, so we have Starlight coming clean on this live stream, where she's going and mentioning that all these people were killed by Soldier Boy, because not only does Soldier Boy not care about any of these people, neither does Homelander, and she's going to tell everybody the truth now, because she should have been telling the people the truth about everything that was going on all along, but she can only now do it now. So Starlight is going on and telling everybody what's really going on, that Maeve is to have been like whisked away somewhere, that Starlight is to probably assume that Maeve is probably dead. So Starlight is going on and saying all these truths, and all these hearts and all these live things are going on. So really, for the rest of this episode, I think the only thing that I've left to cover, if there's anything else that I am thinking about, it probably needs to get covered. Hopefully, I've technically covered everything. Um, the TNT couple, when they were to go, or the TNT duo, I just keep calling the TNT. When TNT were to have a moment where Soldier Boy was kind of gearing up for that blast, we had TNT that was going to go and try to kill Soldier Boy. And so they were going to try to use their powers together, but uh, the the boy of the TNT thing was to say, it's like, well, hey, we haven't used our powers in a while. It's like, well, hey, but like this is the time where it can possibly save our lives. And so TNT tries to use their weapon against Soldier Boy, and it doesn't work because they haven't used it in a while. So it just kind of sparks as if they're Thor from Thor Ragnarok. And Soldier Boy ends up killing them and wiping them out. A little detail that I forgot about within this episode, but I'm sure there's a million details that would go on and probably forget about. So we just have Homelander going back to this mirror by the end of this episode, and like we don't have his mirror self talking to him crazily. So yeah. So with that said, hopefully everything is to then be covered, because I think everything else should technically be covered for this episode. Let me know in the comments below if there's something that I forgot about. I'm sure there's a million things that I did. Let me know how you felt about this episode, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that have a variety of different opinions about this episode, that they thoroughly that they thoroughly enjoyed it, that they just thought it was just like, oh, this is another shock value episode. Oh, how dare they go on and do things that would be very visually appealing through an episode. But other than that, yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, buddy.